here is here. In the New York office, you have myself, Annette Hansen, and Jack Bilio.
Palello?
Bilello. I'll change it for you. Chief investigator.
Is Marcos not coming?
I don't know if Marcos is coming to the meeting, and I did receive an email this morning from Rick Caputo asked to be excused from the meeting, and as of yet, Mr. Lim is not here. I have not received anything from him. Okay, and in Buffalo we have Ray Ann.
Hello, and I have a guest, Pauline Carney, who is the cosmetology teacher at Orleans Niagara BOCES.
Hello, Ray.
Ran, we can't see you.
Yeah, we can't see you,
Can
Ray
you
Ann.
move across or next to, across from her?
Not that it matters, but we would love to look at you.
Thanks, Rayanne.
We missed you.
It's hard enough. I like to see you.
Is that better?
Much
yeah.
better.
I dressed so that you couldn't see me. and this is Pauline Carney.
Pauline, we met last time. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. And as guests in the New York office, we have
Kenya Brew with the New York Women's Chamber of Commerce.
Marina Penna, SED.
and Marina Penna from SED. In Albany, we have
Rob,
hi, Robert.
how are you?
Great.
Mike Elmendorf, Department of State.
Whitney Clark, Department of State. Mary Jo Moore, Department of State.
Denise Tidings, Department of State. Donna Zoller, Department of State.
Carol Fansler, Department of State.
Mark Mastrobino, Department of State.
Jody DeLallo, Department of State.
Amy Pensby, Department of State.
Aisha Battle, Department of State.
Allison Secor, Department of State.
Who is that?
Well, it looks like we have a full house in Albany. Thanks. Okay, so obviously we only have 3 people from the committee that are on. Before we get to subcommittee and department reports, I would like to give a little shout out to Amy and Allison, the Department of State wonderful employees who gave a great presentation for us downstate this Wednesday on e-licensing. So I want to again say thank you for coming down and doing that presentation, not only for the members from New York, but also from the downstate BOCES schools who attended. So I want to again say thank you for that.
Dorothy,
Yeah.
when you said that someone gave presentations on the licensing, was there? Is it possible to have a presentation done at this end of the state or not?
That would be up to Amy and the department.
Okay. All right. We'll contact.
We're going to do
Go
a
ahead.
quick presentation. It's going to be similar to the one that we did in New York City. We're going to do the demo part of the system, but we're going to give you a background of it. But we
Today.
did go to today.
Okay.
That's part of the
Okay.
agenda. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Art?
And Marcos has joined us.
Morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. Obviously we don't have a quorum, so we could review the minutes from the September 30th, 2013 meeting. And other than review it, there's not much we can do. We obviously can't, there's no quorum, we can't approve it. That being said, I'd like to turn it over to an enforcement update.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm basically here to report that our inspection enforcement activity has been continuing through from September 2013 through February 28, 2014. The department collected $123,233 in fines. That was, of course, in connection with numerous inspections that the department had conducted statewide. And some of the more common violations found during these inspections included unlicensed shops, unlicensed operators, shops failing to maintain liability insurance or material safety data sheets, failing to retain invoices for disinfectants, and various health and sanitary violations such as uncovered waste containers, creams, lotions, and cosmetics used on clients not being kept in closed containers, and uncovered wax containers. And the department is in the midst of a ongoing inspection program statewide as we speak. We're conducting inspections in different counties throughout New York State.
We continue to hear about unlicensed activity and unlicensed individuals, and obviously now with the new e-licensing system going into effect, how can we reach out to these people that are unlicensed? Are their licenses expired? Are there temporaries that have expired, or is it totally unlicensed, or never been to school unlicensed?
It's both. There's no question that a lot of the inspections I've seen personally involve people who are not in the system at all.
Never.
Right. So.
And does it usually relate to people that are doing like shampooing and that sort of thing, or is it at all levels?
It's at all levels. It could be some people just shampooing customers' hair, but we've also observed unlicensed operators conducting permanents or doing nails, applying makeup, the whole gamut, the whole wide array of cosmetology services. Mm-hmm. So it's not just reserved to the shampooing of customers. It's the full range of cosmetology services that we've observed unlicensed people performing.
Predominantly in what area? I mean, as far as boroughs, are we talking about downstate as opposed to upstate? Are we talking in the island? Are we talking? Do they know they should be licensed? I mean, that's, I think, the biggest concern I have.
I do know that some of the people who do shampooing exclusively are sometimes surprised, and so are their employers, to find out that a license is required to do that, which of course it is. Others know that they need a license, but they haven't applied for it, or they've represented that they haven't taken the class, the required education to apply for it, but yet they're still working anyway.
Underground?
Sorry?
When I say underground, I mean, are they off the books? They're not employees of the salon?
Well, whether or
Well,
not,
could be.
we're not certain. We do know they're
Right.
being paid,
Right.
but we don't know in what fashion, or if their, if the income is being reported.
Interesting.
This just brings up, Jack mentioned invoices for disinfection, MSDS, covered waste containers, closed containers for creams. Of course, that applies to aesthetics and waxing operators. And again, Dorothy and I, this would have been caught had we had mandatory continuing education. Hopefully, somehow, we'll make a better state.
Sure. Yeah, that's a common one, the uncovered containers, and they also have unlabeled products too. So
Unlabeled, yeah.
That's I forgot to mention that one. That's
Unlabeled products.
Right. So an investigator could do an inspection and then see a bottle and
No name.
There's no idea what. There's no label. Not even a handwritten label.
Right.
It's supposed to have the manufacturer's label, but these
Right.
ones don't have any label anyway. So the only people who know the contents are the actual shop owners or the users of the product. So.
We can take this back to our schools today
Right.
and say how important it is and how the inspector is looking for these things.
Is there any way we can post some of this on
Yep.
the website so that people know?
They go to the website.
Well, I do know that our appearance enhancement law booklet
It's clear.
is posted there, but
Right.
of course, that specific section is not highlighted. That's just one of a
Right.
series of regulations. But,
Right. Hidden as a baby.
Well, yeah, you
Right.
have to search for it.
Right.
It's not.
We teach.
Yeah, it's not at the forefront, but for what it's worth, our hearing determinations from over the years are on the website too, which
Right.
explain the penalties for being found guilty of those type of violations.
Right.
What I would
I mean,
say,
not
I
that
mean,
we
that's
deny you
that's
the
a good idea.
$123,000, but.
It's a good idea that you bring, and I would hate to add to the amount of work
Right.
that the division is currently doing as they continue
Right.
to work the some issues with the new system. However, I mean, one of the things that overall we're trying to do with each one of the divisions that we have in the agency is, continue to create content for the
Right.
website,
Right.
and
Correct.
we have added social media. So
Right.
if any member of the advisory council, even members of the public, have ideas and have articles
Sure.
or content that they would like to submit for us to review,
Yeah.
then we can basically retweet it,
Right.
put it on our Facebook
We
page,
can do that.
put it on our website every so often. So it's sort of like a did you know?
Right.
Did you know?
Right.
And and we can have a section about that, and then we can create that.
That would be a great thing, and I think we all need to do that. And I've been checking your Facebook page all the time. How about languages? Are we only doing it in English? Because maybe that also has something to do with
Yeah,
the translations.
it's possible that that's part of the issue. And with respect, I know that we continue to go back to mandatory and continuing education, but as Jack mentioned, the
They're
biggest
unlicensed.
concern that we continue to have is the unlicensed
I know.
work.
Right.
So we never
So-
get to them. I know.
If
I
they're
know.
unlicensed, I
I
mean,
know.
unfortunately,
We can't get
we
to
would
them.
be penalizing the ones that do follow
Right.
the instructions, and
Exactly.
the ones that are unlicensed are probably, or we may be pushing some people to basically just not renew
Be
the
underground.
license
Correct,
because.
yes, yeah.
So I mean, it's a balancing act.
Right, it is a balancing act, and it's never our intention to have anybody unlicensed. But yet those that are licensed and following the rules are being punished for those that are unlicensed.
Yeah.
So, it's just getting the word out. I mean, I don't know how else to do it. New consumer information, et cetera. At one time we did a new consumer brochure, but that was prior to all the technology that we have available. So I think it's really beholding on us to try and let people know that you are out there, you are inspecting. People shouldn't be working unlicensed.
Then I guess this is a good time to bring up this question. I know that this woman sent a letter to Richard Caputo, and I don't know who else got it, but I got a letter the other day, a registered letter from a woman named Tiffany Farrell, who has had an inspector in there. She's had a lot of issues. I faxed the letter to Carol, but her concern was it's not her that is not licensed, it's the girls that are working in her salon. She's running chairs for them. And she has contacted the licensing department and received no information. Everyone she spoke with could not answer her questions.
Well, what were her questions?
Has to be
Her
licensed.
questions were, is the owner responsible for an area renter station? And if yes,
Yes.
why?
Yes.
Is the owner responsible? Is
Well, but ultimately, the license for the salon is issued to her, so their subcontractors, she would ultimately be responsible.
Yeah, of course.
responsible for keeping their areas clean, she's asking.
Oh,
Well-
come on.
I mean, the thing is that
She's the boss.
She was fined for this. She was fined.
Well, she's the boss.
and in this case, I mean, I'm not familiar with the situation, but you also people have to understand that there's a crisscross of agencies as well.
Correct.
She
Right.
may be lucky that in this instance, she wasn't inspected by OSHA and by the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
But in the same fashion that they're responsible for the area renters, they have to have workers come for area
Right.
renters. They have to have the facilities available for customers in other areas, and they are responsible with respect to OSHA laws.
Right.
And,
So,
and her other
uh,
I'm sorry, your other main question is why was just the owner written up and not the station, the girl that had the station?
It's hard. We haven't seen the entire complaint, so
probably-
I wouldn't know, but,
I'll be more than happy to fax it
Because
to you
there's
if you'd
probably
like.
no contract,
Yeah,
because
that
there's
would be
probably
great.
no
and,
contract.
we'll follow up on it because.
I wish somebody would, because I called the girl and she was absolutely hysterical on the phone. It's in this area.
Oh,
It's
It's
Rob.
in the. I'm sorry.
I also got a letter from her. I just gave it to Amy,
Did you?
so she'll take care of it.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. I know that's a concern, but ultimately, when somebody's the employer, they're responsible.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought too.
A lot of agencies, yeah.
But it was, it wasn't up to me to answer a question. I told her I would bring it to the committee meeting today.
Thanks, I
Okay.
appreciate that. Okay, we probably all
Thanks.
received the letter then.
I have a question. When is the e-application going?
And they're gonna
Right.
cover that next on the
E-licensing,
agenda, if you'd wait.
it's in the agenda. Amy's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
do a presentation
Okay.
on that.
And then one more thing. You mentioned OSHAD, and I think that we contacted the state about that. Is there a class? Is there something in regards to OSHAD for the salons to be in compliance that could be given
The
to
Department
them?
of State doesn't,
Yeah.
particularly deal with that issue. Most of the issues are covered in, by the schools, but it's the federal government. So they have their own division, and they have also they do have advocates and people that go out making presentations. I would have to check my contacts list, but I can provide you some of the names.
The National Cosmetology Association and PBA, the Professional Beauty Association, on their website, they have a ton of, if you give me your card, I'll
Yes,
send
I
it
will
to
give it to you.
They have an entire training session that they
Okay.
do.
That's good. That would be
with
great.
respect to
That would be
OSHA,
good. That would
for
be great.
salons and for
Yes,
individuals.
that would be great.
And it varies a little bit because, it is a government agency, but that includes what the government requires, and then there's some additional stuff the states require.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I believe now we're gonna go into, e-licensing.
Before we do just
Hold on,
just
second.
quickly, I just wanted to mention something. That it's probably obvious. You probably addressed it. On the Department of State is undergoing a transition right now, particularly the Division of Licensing. I appreciate very much your very kind words for Kathy McCoy.
Who abandoned us.
Oh,
She
we
abandoned
missed
us.
we missed.
And then they crossed it out and wrote retired.
Right.
Yeah.
She has no business retiring. We're still working. What's the matter with her? Really? Come on. Tell her she's got to get back.
Yeah, but we appreciate very much all the hard work that Kathy did with respect to the division, and all the efforts are basically seen with what Amy is gonna present to you in a few minutes. For the moment, Mr. Almendorf, as associate director, is heading the division, and we hope that by next meeting there will be a new division director named in property, and we will make the appropriate introductions at that meeting. But we
Great.
continue to thank you and hope that we can continue to work together on that.
They can't get rid of us that easy. Yeah.
We're here till we die, Dorothy. We're here till
I'm
we're
telling
gone.
ya. There you go. We just keep developing new. Well, as the department evolves, I think everything that we're doing to kind of support the department has been evolving also. I'm with e-licensing. We're very excited about it. As I said, Amy and Allison did a great job doing a presentation. I think everybody feels a little bit more comfortable. I'd like to make sure that all the schools that are not already enrolled in the electronic process get enrolled. And we are reaching out to a lot of people to let them know that, this is the way to go. We're very excited about it. So without any further ado, Amy, I believe you're on.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to switch to the PowerPoint presentation so that you can all see it. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Dorothy and Annette, you're going to hear a repeat of what you heard last week.
That's
But
okay. They're typical students. We like to hear it many times.
Oh, good. Will you be quizzed on it later on? Okay, I'm going to do it now. Let me know if you can see it. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint
Wow.
presentation?
Yes, we can.
It worked.
Okay.
It worked.
Oh,
This
awesome.
is wonderful.
Okay, so I'm gonna review where we are with the e-licensing project. I've discussed it a few times already about as we progressed with the e-licensing, and so now I'm happy to announce that it went live on January 6th. And so I'm just gonna go over what the benefits are and what it's gonna do for the state and what it's gonna do for licensing and what it's gonna do for the industry. So I'm going to go over that information, and then Allison's going to give a little background of the system itself. We're not going to do the online demonstration as we did because it's way too long. It would take 3 hours, as it did when we went to the New York State Beauty Association. Allison and I had been to the Cayuga Onondaga BOCES. We went with Cheryl, and there's a group of individuals and schools that we presented it to, and we gave them information on it, and then we went to New York State Beauty Association and gave them information on it. We're really excited about it. It's really, something that we've really worked hard on, and we think it's a great benefit to the industry and to the state. So I'm going to start talking about. So to talk about the New York State, it's called the New York State License Center. And what the New York License Center is like a one-stop shop for people coming into New York State who want to get a business license. So what it is there's a business wizard. So if you're coming into New York State, and it's not just our agency, it's various agencies, and you want to get a license, you go through this business wizard. And it's located at the licencecenter.newyork.gov. The system itself has been named the New York State License Center. And so what it does is an individual business coming into New York State, they'll walk through this business wizard and it'll ask them a series of questions. It used to be Opal before. It's now been renamed the License Center, and you walk through it and it'll ask you a series of questions. And then based on your answers, it'll tell you the type of licenses that you need in New York State, including like if you need a sales tax, anything that you need, it'll tell you. And there's agencies involved. There's the Department of State, there's Department of Agricultural and Markets, there's State Education, which hasn't come on board yet, there's State Liquor Authority, and there's the Department of Environmental Conservation. So as you're going through that, if you are one of these agencies, the information that you put in will go into this e-licensing center. Then there's partner agencies where it'll send you the information that you need to get that license for that particular agency. So what the enterprise benefits I'm going to review is that it's the consolidating and streamlining of access to all license applications and information from multiple participating state agencies. It's just a great way for people coming into New York State to not have to go to multiple agencies. You can come to one stop, and it can tell you what you need to do business in New York State. It enables applications, renewals, license updates, documents required by licensing agencies, and fees to be submitted securely online. So you can do it all online without having to submit paper applications. Once you go to this one spot, you can get everything done that you need for that license. It also, the system itself, once you get an account and you submit an application, you can track the status of your application. So you can see whether you're eligible for exams or whether it's in the processing unit for review. It gives you a status of your application, which is great because, sometimes it's hard to get through a phone bank because we have so many calls. So the first stop for licensees or applicants is to go into their own account to see what the status of their license is. It's resources for new businesses, owners to get information and assistance with their licensing needs. That's the main goal of this enterprise project is to provide them with all the information that they need in New York. These 6 agencies are just the pilot. They're going to be onboarding agencies as we move forward with the goal of getting as many agencies onto this e-licensing system. It also has the ability for public consumers to lodge complaints regarding licensees. It's not for students to lodge complaints about schools or anything like that. It's more about somebody who's licensed, an individual who has a problem with a licensee. They can create themselves an account, lodge the complaint, and then track the progress of that complaint. So it's more information for the public. And the other thing about the enterprise benefits is they provided consolidated call centers throughout the state. There's 4 call centers. We reside in one where phone calls that are coming in for e-licensing, whether it's for our agency or ENCON or State Liquor Authority, they're going to one spot initially. And they're going to help those people walk through the system, get to know the system, and then if they have more direct questions that are agency involved, they'll switch them to the agency specific. Okay. So the Department of State customer benefits. It's a customer-friendly, streamlined online process for applicants. It's a much easier process for people to get online. Once you create your account, it walks you through the process, and and you can get done really quickly. It's an easy place to find results of your exams, to find the status of your application. It's a reduced time frame to obtain a license in New York. So in the past, you know, in times of backlogs, it could take 4 to 5 weeks for somebody to get a license. If you apply online and you have a qualified application, and you can get a license the same day. Well, you get approval the same day. Where it used to take 4 to 5 weeks. That's one of the main benefits of this, is the ability to get a license so much quicker. And then the licenses, we used to print them on a weekly basis. Now we're printing them daily. So the licenses even are even going out quicker. It allows you to upload scanned documents. So if you're applying on based on a license that needs documents uploaded, such as if you're applying based on experience outside of New York State, you can upload those documents. It allows the exam candidates can schedule a written and practical exam at a date and time and location of their choice. In the past, you'd have to have a green admission notice before you went to the exam. Now, once you apply online and you qualify, you can schedule your exam that same day. So you don't have to wait for that green admission notice to come in the mail. You can just schedule yourself, and you can take the written and practical in either order. The practical, we used to have scheduled you at a time that was convenient for us. Now we have dates available on the site that you can pick a date and time of your choice. And it improves customer service by viewing status and exam results through an online application. So once you take the exam, and as soon as the exams are scored and uploaded, you can log right into your account and see it. You don't have to wait for you to get the results in the mail. Okay, so I just want to go over to, some of the changes to the process. Okay, so the first thing is health certification. If you're applying online, there's been a new form that's created that's on our website that you take the form and you go to your doctor's office. They fill it out. And then when you go to apply online, you fill all the information that's on that health certification into the online application. You take that health certification and you keep it in your place of business for 3 years. And then you're subject to audit. So it removes the requirement to send paper in or to even have to upload scanned documents. It's all an online process. Exams, as I mentioned before, they can be taken in either order, and they can be scheduled as soon as they submit their online application, as long as they are qualified. There's an online affirmation for business and shop area, for the business to affirm a shop area renter. And what I mean by that is, if an area renter is applying online and they put in the shop UID number, and that shop UID number has claimed their record, which I'll go over it in a little bit about what claiming a record is, and they have an email address on file, that request will go to the email box of that business owner. The business owner will log into their account and say, yes, that person can work for me. And that goes back to that person's area renter's account, and as long as all the other items are satisfied, they get approved immediately. So it's all electronic. We're trying to make it as simple and easy for everybody involved. It helps us because we have less data entry and less work to do, and it helps the industry because they can do it so much quicker. The online school affirmations, when we first started this whole e-licensing system, we worked with the state ed. Instead, state ed provided us the names of all the schools that have the programs approved with them, and they gave us, and we reached out to all the schools and we said, okay, are you interested in being involved in the online school affirmations? The public schools, all the schools agreed to be part of it, and we set up all of them prior to going live with an online affirmation process. Many of the private schools also decided to do it, so we set them up. So right before we went live, we spent a weekend here, me and my staff, and just got them all signed up, so that when we went live, that as soon as somebody applied online and they selected a school, an email notification would go to the person that was selected at that school to monitor or approve those school applications. And so that's what's been happening. We've had over 1,000 online school approvals. That's pretty good for 2 months.
Yeah.
So,
you
the
welcome.
online results and statuses can be found online. That's a change in the process. We can upload documentation, so if there's a piece of documentation that's missing, you can upload it and we can review it right away. So it gets rid of the 2 to 3 week time frame that's involved in the mail process. We created the ability for people to close their business. There's it's an online transaction that if you decide you want to close your business, you can go online and just enter the information and your business is closed with us. It allows people, barber apprentices are under the guidance of a barber operator. So we created a transaction that's online that an apprentice can pick a new barber operator. It will go into to an email notification to that barber operator as long as they've got an account, and they can affirm it, so it's all done electronically. So I just want to step back for a minute and tell you about how we started the whole process. We had 300,000 licensees that, between licensed and exam candidates, that we had to convert into this new system. So the way that the process worked was we converted it into the system, but in order to have access to your account, you have to create an account and you have to claim your record. So what that means is once you go to ny.gov, which Allison's going to describe a little bit further after this, after I'm done, is that you go through this identity wizard. And what an identity wizard is you put your name and your social security number. And we contracted with an outside vendor who has a database of information of everybody in the country. And so by putting your name and your social security number, it asks you a series of questions. And I don't know if any of you have been through that, but it will ask you what car you've owned in the past. It'll ask you where your mother lived, or a series of questions that only you would know. And once you go through those and answer them successfully, then it goes back to the system and will grab the licenses that are related to you and attach them to your account. And once it does that, you can start scheduling yourself for exams, renewing your license, doing changes online. So so far we've had over I think 4,500 people that have claimed their records. If for some reason they go through the online process and they can't identify them, then they contact our office. They call the phone bank and they call and they give they provide us with a copy of their license or their driver's license where we can identify who they are, and then we do it for them in the back office. But we encourage people to do it themselves, because then they don't have to get on the phone and wait for someone to help them. So, okay. So what we've been going out and we've been asking schools to offer assistance to their students with this whole process, because that's how it's going to make this system a success. We're asking the schools to walk students through the online creation. Allison did a great 50-page document that gives you step-by-step instruction on how a student can actually go online, create an account through ny.gov, then walk them through how to create your online application. And so we're asked, as we've gone out and done these demonstrations, we've been providing the booklets to the schools. It's also available on our website. But we're asking the schools to help your students once they've completed the program at your school. It's a great way to get the students involved. Is the schools are the first step. And then after they create the account, then help walk them through the online application. Also, then you can go in, if you're a school that's part of the online program, you can go in there and affirm immediately that student's schooling. And then after that, while the student's still there, you can sign them up for their exams. So that's what we're encouraging the schools to do, is do all that before the student leaves. Because I know that a lot of times there's, students that take the schooling and never complete the whole process. But if you help them do that initially, that might encourage them to complete the process. And now that they can take the written and practical in either order, maybe if they take the practical and pass that, that'll encourage them to be confident enough to continue on with the written. Either way, whatever's better for your student, It's just, I think that if the schools are involved in encouraging the students, I think that we'll get a much higher percentage of students completing the whole process. And then you can also assist your student with the scheduling exams, uploading documentation. If somebody has, has a criminal conviction, you can help them with the documents that need to upload. They'll need to scan and browse and find the documents, and I think that schools can help them with that. You can help them with paying their fees and completing an online renewal. That's what that's what we're here. We really want the system to work, and so far we've been pretty lucky. And I'm going to turn this over to Allison, but just to give you a breakdown, we've had over approximately 900 people who have been able to go online and get a license already through this online system, so that's pretty good. We've had over 750 people schedule themselves for exams online. We've had over 860 people renew online, and we've had over 680 people do changes online. So that's why we feel we're pretty successful. In 2 months, that's pretty good. So
Great.
I'm going to turn it over to Allison.
Hello. When we first went live, like Amy said earlier, we helped the schools by setting up their online account. What the schools would do is they'd go to ny.gov as well and set up their account through ny.gov and hook it up to the license center, and that's where they would get where they can affirm their students. Once we have worked with the schools and their accounts are set up, we send them like a welcome packet with information. There's a guide that helps them help their students set up an account, shows them how to upload documentation, and kind of walks them through step by step what the students need to complete on their side. So we send them a welcome packet with that information, and I think we added how the schools, well, they would set up their my.gov account.
Yeah, we're going to update it even more so.
Yeah, we're going to be updating this a little later on as well. But the basic steps to going through with the school affirmation process is the student goes in, they complete their online application or a paper application if they send it in as a paper. When they've put in their school information and it's been entered into the system either by the online applicant or the back office, once they put the application into the system, the system will send an email to the school for them to affirm that student completed their program. And then the school can go in and look at that email and click on the link in the email and be brought directly to their account where they can log in and affirm the application. Or if they don't look at the email, they can go in at any time, log into their account, and see any affirmations that are waiting for them. So I'm going to go over briefly how you would set up your ny.gov account and then linking that to the New York State License Center account. If the school, which most likely the schools don't have an ny.gov account previously, but a student or another licensed person might, you have one ny.gov account for your personal use. You have done your New York State DMV registration online, you already have an ny.gov account, and you'd want to use the same account. There's other things available through the ny.gov portal, so they would want to use the same account. But if they don't have an account, when they would go to my9.gov, they would click on the Don't Have an Account button. For this, we're going to go through personal. Someone might be setting up a business account, but we're going to go through the steps of setting up a personal account. That gives some brief instructions on how setting up the account is going to work, and then you would click on Sign Up for a Personal ny.gov ID. The first part is they would set up their name and their user ID. So when they fill that out, it's the first name, last name. The email is going to be associated with that account. So for your ny.gov use, the email there is what you would get, how you would reset your ny.gov password, things like that. And then you would do the preferred user ID. And then you have to put in this little CAPTCHA to let them know that you're filling this out. And then you click create an account. It's going to then ask for you to verify that that information is correct and continue. And then it's going to give instructions to go to your email because you have to finish your ny.gov account setup through your email. So you would go to your email, and then in your email it's going to give you directions, and you're going to click on that link. It says please click here. And it's going to bring you back to ny.gov, but into your own account, where you're then going to set up your shared secrets questions. These questions will allow you to reset your password on your own later on without having to call somebody to reset your password. It's just going to give you access to your account. So these 3 questions are filled out, and it's going to give you a confirmation, and you're going to click continue. You're going to create your password and click set password. It's going to give you again a confirmation, and you click continue. And then if you click on the go to My Ny button, it will bring you to the dashboard that's part of ny.gov, and you have to click on the New York State License Center icon. When you click on that icon, it then connects that account that you just created in ny.gov to the New York State License Center. So when you click on that, it will bring up the New York State License Center application. Sorry. And what we're encouraging as a best practice is to click on the account management link once you're in here. What happens when you click on that link, it's going to give you your basic contact information that you put into your ny.gov account. And then if you click on the actions view and open that up, you can continue to add your own information. You can set up put in your phone number, your date of birth, your social security number. If you needed anything else on there, you can fill out. You can put in your address. And then what happens is when this information is entered in, it will carry over to all the new applications that the person is creating. So when they want to create a new area renter application and they go in, it will pre-populate that data for them, so they don't have to enter it every single time. They just enter it once. And then once all of that's completed, there's a button somewhere that you press. It probably says save or continue or something. And then once those steps are done, they can go in and create their applications. If they have a license already, this is at the point now that they've got them set up. They want to walk through that identity wizard so they can claim their already existing licenses and put it on their account. And again, once they're in the License Center system, they have the ability to create a new application. They can renew an application, renew a license. They can do amendments, so they need to change their name, their address, something like that. They can do all of that within this License Center. Again, they can schedule and track their exams. And they just can pretty much do their entire process through this License Center. Are there any questions? Yes, we did such an awesome job.
Good job. It's really much easier than all the screens when you look at it. When you go through it, it's really very simple.
I have a question. Is it possible that we can get a copy of this PowerPoint?
I guess, sure. I can send you also, anybody who wants a copy of that, it's on our website, but I think that document that Allison created is very, very helpful. Don't you agree, Dorothy, that that document that was handed out at your
Yes.
Yeah, and the one that's, Ray, and the one that's on the website, you can, it's a Word doc, you can actually take it and make it into a PowerPoint presentation,
Okay.
that's what I did. And
Okay.
Okay.
the areas that you want the students to focus on are in red, so
Okay.
that they can actually see, and you can go through it as a whole training schedule. You know, one of the things that I asked all of my educators to do is to actually go on and renew their own license. And
Right.
even if it wasn't ready to be renewed, to just hold it and save it, so that they become familiar with it. And
with the
and I do the
program,
same
right.
thing, and it makes it a little bit easier. At least then you have some idea of how to set it up.
Now, I guess my question, I was talking to Pauline about this. We have someone at the Orleans Niagara BOCES who is in charge of this, Joe Steinmetz. Now, this information is going to go from the instructors that these students have their hour requirement. It's going to go from the instructors to Joe Steinmetz, is that correct? And then he's going to take care of this? Is that the way it's going to be?
Depends how they set it up, I assume.
You assume, so you don't,
Well,
they don't know.
I don't know who the contact person is for that school.
Is that what you've been doing though at your schools?
Now, what we did is we set up a separate mailbox where where only one person has access to, so
Okay.
that all of them go into that mailbox.
Okay.
And then what I asked my staff to do is, once they get a list of people that they've approved, is to print the screen so they have it. Then they check it off, and it goes right to the department. But you can actually see there when the student applied for the license.
Oh, good. Okay.
And it'll tell you everything that's pending.
Okay, thanks, Dorothy.
It looks like a data fill form. But I did have a couple of questions. Amy, you talked about the student can see whether they passed or failed the exam. Is it a score or just pass fail the way it is now?
It's pass fail only.
Okay. Then my other question is, obviously two things came up with our association and some of the BOCES downstate schools. Would it be possible, or is there any indication of the website being translated into Spanish for those students that are applying? Or no?
As I mentioned, I don't know. I mean, I can ask at the enterprise level. I know that that's a goal of the governor, is to have things translated into different languages. I think maybe more of the instructions.
Right, maybe even the instructions is what I'm thinking.
Right.
Okay. So then the other one I asked that came up after the fact is, you're not even going to go into the back office reports. I'll save that. But how are we going to let salons know that this is something that they need to do, particularly if they're going to be approving area renters? So you're putting it on the state website? How are we reaching out?
We did send out 2 letters to when we went live, we sent out letters to all the applicants that were, had to take their exams, and we sent out 2 notifications to the all the businesses, making them aware of this online system. So we have been going out to the doing these presentations, and I believe that there's a press notice also going out to all to the businesses.
Yeah,
I think that we're trying. I think that we were waiting to make this, see how successful it was and everything, and get it up and running. And I believe that there's more information will be being sent out from our press office.
Okay. I think some of the smaller salons may have trouble, but maybe some of us that have alumni or whatever, if we could do an email blast to some of them to know that they should start being aware of it in a couple of languages maybe.
Great. And,
would be great. And tweeting about it and putting on the Facebook.
Exactly.
And
We are available to go in and make presentations as appropriate.
Great.
So, if you do know of organizations that are interested in this presentation, we can schedule something and work with them.
Because I think it's not just cosmetologists, it's the nail techs in particular, which I'm a little concerned about. Estheticians I think would be okay, but I'm really concerned about some of our nail techs, minority speaking. So maybe we can work on some of that with some of our colleagues.
And in addition to that, and this is something that we will be talking about later on, and probably at the next meeting, but as we're rolling out this process, we're also in partnership with our ONA centers, our Office for
Right.
New Americans, throughout the state.
Yeah, I can see.
And we are reaching out to them to make sure that they also provide some of this information and, can help us out in reaching out to the communities.
Right.
Have this more, basically spread it out
Right.
even further.
I mean, I think we have a lot of minority women that are licensed and working, but maybe don't have email addresses, that don't have access to computers. Their kids do and can probably help them, but I think we need to really reach out to that population in particular. Okay.
Amy and Allison, I just had two questions. What is the call center for New York City?
Well, they
There's
always
just
call
a
us.
set.
One number.
Oh, I thought
Same
you said
number.
there's 4
Right,
call
one-
centers.
no.
No, there's 4 clusters based on the agency and the type of license.
Oh.
It gets rerouted into one of 4 call centers.
Okay.
And it's basically, instead of having each agency have humongous call centers, we just have 4 clusters around the state that deal with several disciplines. And then if they know that the majority of the questions are going to be about how do I set up my password, how do I do this, how do I do that, so they can deal with that. And only the most complex question goes back to the agency for proper handling.
And the Identity Wizard, that's right on the New York State License Center?
That
Claim
is
your
what, the way that the Identity Wizard is when you create yourself an account through ny.gov, it leads you to the Identity Wizard.
Okay.
And then that will walk you through the questions that allows you to get access to your account.
Okay.
And one other thing that I wanted to mention is that earlier in the meeting, you had said what's a good way to get information out. And I think that because we're collecting email addresses within this system, that eventually that would also be a good way for communication to our licensees. Is once we get a good number of email addresses, it's a great way when there's a statutory change or a regulatory change to get that information out, or even if there's any information that we want our licensees to know. So
Absolutely.
that's another benefit to the system.
Well, there's nothing easier than email blasts. They're timely, inexpensive, and then if you get a bounce back, you know that you have an option of something else. I do want to bring up one of the things that the association was seriously concerned about is, one of the things that the schools struggle with is to actually find out who takes the exam, when they take it. This, in some aspect, will help them a little bit, but again, we would love to have some back office reports. The reports that we get currently about licensing only have the number of people that took the exam, not who took the exam or when. And from our aspect, we have to really monitor that on a yearly basis. So it's kind of a struggle for us to go in and do each person individually. So I know it's in the first phase.
And similarly, it's a struggle for us to also do it on an individual basis.
Right.
But this, in part, will help both of us, achieve a better reporting system for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for us to get the number and the name somehow linked together. We'll have better access now because if we are certifying when the person fills out the application, we'll have some way of knowing. In addition to that, we're thrilled. We know it's the first phase, and we're really excited, and it should help everybody. I'm just concerned that those that don't have access to some of the technology know that they can go someplace, whether it's the library or whatever, Staples, somewhere, to get access to be able to create their own ID, and not to be afraid of it. And overall, I think that's all I have. It's a huge undertaking, so we obviously thank you. I was at a Massachusetts State Board meeting last month, and they're going e-licensing also, and they actually signed a contract, I believe, with the same company that you used.
Yeah, they are.
It's like $23 million.
Same vendor, yeah.
Same vendor, yes, yeah. So they're anxious for me to tell them next month, how we're doing. And they're going to have some of the same challenges also, although they have a national testing agency, which is a little bit different. They don't, they schedule the day they graduate for testing, but they also have a very antiquated system where everything is done manually. So let's hope it works for all of us. Okay. Any public comment? Any public comments? I do have. Carol, go ahead.
I actually have two questions. We discussed that with his last meeting before about the possibility of summer practical exams. I know from the public school side, they're all on board of opening their schools for those exams, so I don't know if that's still going to be a possibility. Because our students end in June, they cannot take the practical to September. A lot of them go away to school, so those are the kids that get caught in the not getting their licensing.
And in what area were we talking about, Carol? What?
Cosmetology, nail specialty. Of the state?
What area? Of the state, yes.
All across the state. Every single one of the BOCES is on board.
Okay, because I offered also our Rochester and Buffalo new locations, which are open year-round for exams. And they're both brand new facilities. I believe I sent everything to the department. So those are, and I know those were two areas which we were struggling to find an area.
Yeah, I think that the department's definitely looking into that.
Okay.
Dorothy?
I think Keith had his last meeting talked about looking at it for this.
Is it stated on the license that we can use your schools here in this area? Do you know, or where did you send that?
I sent it to, I think I sent it to you, Carol. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and see.
Would you let me know, because Pauline said she hasn't heard that, and it would be good for Orleans Niagara, I guess, is having some remodeling done this summer, so their students would not be able to.
I'm not quite sure, positive on that.
She says she's not positive, but some of the students, it would be easier for them to go there, to the Buffalo school.
Up.
Thanks. And if you just let me know, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, Dorothy.
As long as the snow is gone.
Yeah. It was here over the weekend. But it's almost gone now. It's supposed to be 70 tomorrow.
Now, we had a little snow and ice this morning ourselves. So yeah. Okay. The only other thing I know it's not on the agenda, but we had talked about it briefly, and I am going to be reaching out to some of my BOCE partners and colleagues. We will be reviewing some testing stuff and putting together some new subcommittee members. We are in dire need of some nail techs. I have a couple that have offered to help us do some stuff. So, we will be reaching out to our BOCES partners to put together 3 subcommittees to work on reviewing the testing. So that
Pauline and I will volunteer for those committees together.
Oh, I already volunteered you.
Oh, thanks a lot, Dorothy. You're my buddy.
We know.
Hey, Dorothy, I think that Cheryl had one more question from SED. Okay.
Sure.
I'm bringing this to you guys because it was brought to me. Would the committee ever entertain the thought of, and every other state is doing this, that's why I've researched it already, or almost every other state, of putting together a cosmetology assistant certification and or license. So a student who is in school has to complete so many units of study and then could then be allowed to just shampoo, no chemicals, no permanent restructuring. It creates a career pathway for these kids. And there are some students with disabilities who are not able to ever pass the written licensing exam, would never ever become a hairstylist. However, they could still shampoo. And if you look at the healthcare industry, all of your nurse assistants, your LPNs, all do practical work as students under the supervision of licensed individuals. And, last time I knew, nobody could die from a shampoo. So I was just asked to bring it to you guys to see if you would ever entertain something like that. With restrictions, of course, but, I could put together a proposal for the next meeting if you're willing to.
Everybody.
Cheryl, I personally am familiar with it because I'm involved in many states where they have it. Our biggest concern now is the unlicensed activity that we have currently.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is people don't stay within the discipline. So yes, they may be licensed and have a permit for a certain amount of time to work on something while they continue school or finish school. Unfortunately, those people sometimes fall through the cracks. Obviously, if you wanted to put a proposal together, the committee will look at it. I personally am concerned about it. And the reason why I say that is we're one of the few states that has just 1,000 hours. It's a short program for people to go through. And yes, there would be people that, and we've all trained people that have disabilities. So in some instances, maybe that would be a separate situation that, the department could look at for limited licenses. In New Jersey, which is our partner state, they have a student is allowed to work at 600 hours when they're not in school, and then that permit expires. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we need to look at, and the problem I continue to have with something like that is the person that has a limited license or that's allowed to work at a certain amount of time, they sometimes fall through the cracks. They don't finish school. They don't go for the testing. It's the lure of working and making money, which sometimes happens even with our students that get the permits and the temporary licenses. So I'm not opposed to it. I'd like to look at a proposal, but ultimately it would be up to everybody to kind of make a decision.
I agree with you completely, Dorothy. And then the other thing you run into is we're putting so much on the inspections, and then that would be one more thing that they would have to look at, because then they would have to check to see if somebody was doing something that was out of their licensure. So I agree with everything you say. I'd be willing to look at it too, but it has to be so tight to make sure that they fell into that category.
Right. I mean, I just think it's so difficult as it is to even monitor the licenses we have, and we have such an underground network in New York in particular, and in the boroughs here, that I just struggle with one more person going in that's unlicensed maybe and falls through that crack, that may have an opportunity to take a job away from somebody that's gone to school and have become licensed and really wants to work. I'm really opposed to people working off the grid. It's not good for our industry, and it's not good for those that want to run a successful business. It's just not fair.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And
question.
Sure.
Where are we standing with the revised aesthetics curriculum?
Good question, Dr. Reimer.
Being reviewed by the governor's office. Before we can publish a rule for public comment, it has to go through what's called a regulation review. It's a two-step process. The first step is through the governor's office. And once the governor's office has approved the proposal for publication, it goes to a division within budget for final approval. Once we receive both sign-offs, it can be published in the state register. So as I receive information, I will update the committee members.
Thank you, Whitney. I know that it was out there and it was published, but it was still kind of in cyberspace to say that, there's two other initiatives, obviously. We're still working on electronic MSDS sheets, and that would be more information that's provided to our licensees. And the early testing initiative, with the e-licensing, it's really even easier now. And when we talk about getting our students to take the written exam first. We look at the results for the practical exam. We have like 100% statewide. Our students continue to struggle with the written portion. Some of it is English is not as a first language. And again, we're all worried about the students passing the written test and working hard to make sure that the students have the opportunity to take that and pass. So that's another initiative. The early testing initiative. We haven't put it to rest. With being able to schedule the students for the written first, if the school is doing the application, is the procedure that we really are looking to do. But again, that's all depending upon curriculum revisions and what happens going forward. What? Huh? Right. That's what we talked about. Any other additional public comments?
Where do we stand on the waxing?
Oh, yeah, Whitney.
Whitney.
Waxing was submitted with the aesthetics curriculum, since we also made proposed changes to that portion of the curriculum. So it's a combined package. So that is also undergoing review by the governor's office.
How long does
I think we were talking about the restriction that somebody would need to wear gloves to do any waxing service.
And no double dipping.
Correct. That's combined with, there's the two different proposals that are being reviewed together by the governor's office.
Okay.
How long does that usually take?
It's hard to say. There's no provision in the statute or regulations giving a time frame. Some move very quickly. Some take time. So I wish I could give you something concrete, but I can't since it's in their court right now.
Like it to happen in my lifetime.
One one of the things that we did inform all of our colleagues and our association members that the gloves were required already, so just to let you know.
We already
took
care of that.
They're
We
gonna
said
need
it was,
Thanks,
it's any day now, any day now.
It is such a health hazard, and you know, we kind of reiterated with all of our colleagues and schools and students that are graduating, as well as educators and practicing. So we did make to everybody we deal with that it was a requirement already. Sorry. But it is a good public practice, and you know, most people are doing it anyway. And interesting enough, it is already in all of the textbooks. We double checked, so most educators are teaching it that way to begin with. So it's the people that have been in the industry a while again that are not following that. So
we can't reach.
Okay.
So are you saying it's gloves are required for waxing?
Yes. Protective gloves. And no double dipping.
No, I know that one, but I didn't know about the gloves.
Well, that's what we proposed. That it should come out. Yeah, it's a great proposal.
I think now we can say it's a best practice.
It is a best practice.
It's a best practice. It's not currently required by our regulations, but we're hoping to get that passed to make it a requirement.
We don't want our examiners to penalize the students if they're not wearing the gloves just yet, because it isn't a requirement.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay, motion to adjourn, or if there's any other comments?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Rayanne makes the motion, and that's second. Okay, thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody, too.